Alright, this is our 5th geometry lesson, and we're moving from angles into triangles. We're not going to use a protractor very much, but we may end up using a protractor a little bit. It depends on how much time it looks like we have. So our do now is find the measure of the missing angle, and how do you know? Well, this is leading in from our angle relationships that we learned last time. And these three angles together, they make this straight line. So together they have to be 180. So 45 and 71 and another number have to be 180. I'm just going to go ahead and add these first. And I get 116. And 180, take away 116 is 64. So this is going to have to be 64 degrees in order to make a straight angle. So we're saying 64 degrees to make a 180 degree straight angle. So our objectives are that we're going to discover the sum of angle measurements in a triangle and use the sum of angle measurements in a triangle to identify the measure of missing angles. We're going to do triangles for 2 days, and on our next class we'll do a little bit more complicated problems with triangles, and we'll take an exit card. So today's kind of an introduction, some easier things, getting to know what triangles are about, and then tomorrow's class will be a little bit more complicated. Or next time's class, probably not tomorrow's class. So we're going to measure some triangles. Actually, we are definitely using a protractor. This is the one from the warm-up where we figured out that it had to be 64 degrees because this was 116. If we take that apart and reassemble it, this is our 64 degree angle, this is our 71 degree angle, this is our 45 degree angle, and they make a triangle. So we're going to measure some other angles. We're actually using a protractor to measure these. So we line up the 0 point and then the 0 edge. So here's one. This angle is acute, and it goes through 74, we'll call it. This is one of them. It doesn't really matter which you put where. I didn't specify because I don't want to make it that complicated. Just measure each angle one time. As long as you have each angle, you'll be fine. Here we have, where is the vertex on this stupid thing? Alright. This is as close to the vertex as I could really get it at the moment, and it looks like it's about 36 degrees, because again, it's acute. Another acute angle. And we're going to go with 36 degrees. And then I need to line up my 0 edge on this one. 0 point first, then 0 edge. And it's also an acute angle. All of these are acute. And this is going through about 71 degrees, roughly. And then I'm just going to go ahead and add all of these together. 4 and 6 makes 10, and 1 makes 11. Carry the 1. 7 and 3 is 10, and 1 is 11, and 7 is 18. So this is about 181 degrees, give or take. You know, human error. Alright, let me line up my vertex. Oop. Let me line up my 0 edge. This angle is about 35 degrees. It's acute. About this one, it's about acute, about 34 degrees. Okay, let's line up this 0 edge and point. And then the edge. Ooh, that is definitely not actually on the 0 point. Let's try and get that lined up a little bit better. That's a little bit better. And that is, and the obtuse angle, it's more than 90. It's about 110 degrees, roughly. We add 5 and 4 makes 9. 3 and 3 is 6, and 1 is 7, and the 100 there is 179. So far we have 181 degrees and 179 degrees. Those are really close together. Now we have this one. Let's go ahead and line up our vertex. Go ahead and rotate. This is acute. It's about 30 degrees. Let's line up this one. That's definitely about 90 degrees. Whoa. Well, I'm going to need to rotate it anyway. I just did it a little earlier than I intended to. Line up the 0 point and the vertex. Rotate. That is, it's an acute angle, and it's around 60. This is not quite lined up, so I'm going to go with probably 60 degrees. And I add that up. 6 and 9 is 15, and 3 is 18. This one's actually exactly 180 degrees. So all of the angles sum to really close to 180 degrees. Just like the one from the warm-up. So the next stage is I'll actually have the students cut up a triangle. Each group will get a really big triangle to cut up and actually put the points of their triangle together. So they'll just cut it, and then the points, it'll be outlined real bold so that they'll be able to see which ones were the original points of the triangle, and then line them up and see what happens, which should be that they line up to make a straight line, make a straight edge. So, and this is true even though they'll all have different triangles, they all should get something that's pretty much a straight line. So 180 degrees. Triangle angles always sum to 180 degrees. So the sum of angles in a triangle is always 180 degrees. That means that if I have two angle measurements for a triangle, I can always find the missing one. We're going to find the missing measurements in the triangles below. Well, 60 and 40 makes 100, and the whole thing has to be 180, so that means that only 80 degrees are missing. 40 and 70 makes 110, and the whole thing is 180, so I'm missing 70 degrees. So, and I can actually show my work if I need to. That's 110, and 180 minus 110 is 70. 45 and 90 makes 135, and 180 minus 135, 10 minus 5 is 5, 7 minus 3 is 4, 45 degrees. 45, 45, 90. 31 and 39 makes 70, so this should be 110. 128 and 23 makes 151, so this should be 29. And I'm checking this one by adding because I felt like it. 10, 8, 180. 84 and 56 is going to make 6 and 4 is 10, carry the 1. 8 and 5 is 13, and 1 is 140, so there's 40 degrees missing. This is 35 degrees, this is 90 degrees, it's marked with a little square. 35 and 90 is 125, so I have 55 degrees missing. 70 and 30 would be 100, but I have another 10 there, 110, so I'm missing 70 degrees. 36 and 57 would be 8, but I'm going to carry a 1, so 90, 7 and 6 is 13, so 93, and 193 plus 87 would make 180. 10, carry the 1, 9 and 9 is 18. So those are just some examples. There's one more row of examples on the worksheet. and then there's just the homework. And I do have some extra worksheets for any students who happen to finish early, because this is really easy. The bulk of it is just like measuring takes some time, cutting up the triangles takes some time. So homework is just more of the same. But there is an extension on the homework that's a little bit harder. Numbers 5, 6, and 7, and 8, you have to go into some, this is what we'll be learning next time, and I want to see if any students can kind of figure it out. So give it a try, at least give it a try. But I understand it is a toughie. So if you don't, and it takes like multiple steps. I'm going to solve one of them as an example, just so you can see like the sorts of steps that you'll have to go through in order to solve it. But at least just give them an attempt. If nothing else, guess. Estimate the measure of the angle. You have to at least put an estimate in order to get credit. Alright, so this is a straight line, which means that these two angles are supplementary. These two angles here. So together they make 180. And from 137, I need another 43 degrees in order to make 180. So now I have two measurements in my triangle, so now I can find the third one. 102 and 43 makes 145, which means that I'm missing 35 degrees to make 180 for my triangle. And then I have another supplementary pair. This pair is supplementary. 35 and 145 makes 180. Which is interesting because that's what I got when I added these together, was 145. The others are similar. You're going to have to take steps. Vertical angle, that's going to be a vertical angle. That's a supplementary thing going on there, supplementary thing going on there, supplementary thing going on there. So just give it a try.